Now let's spend some time on ARM template. So let me just close this window and let me just check whether my virtual machine has been done or not. Let me just get inside the resource groups. Okay, RGPS and RGCLI is also there. Inside the RGPS, we need one virtual machine. See here, still it is okay. Something went wrong. Upcoming breaking change. Okay, something went wrong with that. Okay, no size value has been provided. I need to provide, okay, this is the one resource group and then image compatible virtual machines. Okay, maybe there is some issue with this one by default. So I need to provide that one as well. Okay, but like that, you can just create it. All right. So this part is done. PowerShell. Okay, I need to just cancel it. I don't want this. Let me just close it like this. Okay, done. Now let's spend some time on the ARM template. So anybody can tell me about that ARM template? If somebody know about it? Yes. Is there someone who know about that ARM template? What is mean by that?
No, I'm not aware of it.
Okay, great. No issues. So ARM template is the Azure Resource Manager template. It's a Azure Resource Manager template. And inside that template, you need to write a code in a JSON format, which is the JavaScript object notation. Now, first thing, we need to understand what is the JSON format if I want to write it. And also it is called as an infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure as a code means what? You can control your whole infrastructure within that code. So if I'm creating like this, see here, what is there if I want to create a virtual machine by using the portal? What are the steps? I can simply add my name, subscription, resource group, name of my virtual machine, region. Other than that, by default, and username and password. That's it, right? From the portal, whether I'm going to use it from the PowerShell or the CLI, everywhere, I can just put my image, name of my virtual machine, region, and subscription. That's it, right? But here, whenever you want to create a JSON file, which is the infrastructure as a code for the virtual machine, you need to write each and everything. It means, first of all, you need to create the resources. Virtual machine is dependent on 5 to 6 resources, as we have already talked about that part in the first day, right? So virtual machine is dependent on multiple resources. It means virtual network, NIC card, NSG, and blah, 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 right? So here, whenever you are writing it over here by using the ARM template, make sure about that you have to write it in a proper sequence and all the dependent variables or the dependent resources and then the another one, right? Everything you need to write it. You cannot create directly a virtual machine over here and backend Microsoft will do the by default. No, here you need to create each and everything. It means I need to create an NSG, or let me just put like this, I need to create a storage account. So you need to create it in a sequence, means all the independent first and then dependent. So here in the virtual machine, storage account is the independent, which is not dependent on anyone. Public IP address is also the independent resource. NSG is also the independent resource, but virtual network is dependent on NSG. Then we can create a NIC card. Your NIC card is dependent on public IP address as well as a virtual network. And finally, your virtual machine is depend on storage account as well as a NIC card, right? So these are the dependencies. Virtual machine is dependent on these many resources. So you need to write it in a sequence. You cannot create a virtual network over here. It is not possible. It is not get deployed because virtual network is dependent on NSG for sure. So you cannot create it. So the first thing is you need to write a code in a JSON format. Another thing, you need to write everything in a proper structure, or this is called as an orchestrator. In a sequence only you have to create it. And whenever we are creating it, first of all, in your template, you need to write a schema. Schema is nothing but it's a kind of URL. It's a kind of URL. So it's a kind of a library URL where you will get multiple template URL, not a simple template URL. It is a kind of template which is having the all prerequisites. It's a not a example template. It's a only prerequisite template, right? So you will get that. So here you need to provide that URL. I don't know what is that URL. Okay. So here schema, you need to add that URL. After that, you need to add a content version. Content version means your template version. You can put that 1.0.0.0 like that. You can just choose that. After that, you need to provide API profile. API profile means what? Every resource, whether it is a storage account, PIP, NSG, VNet, NICAD, and all these things, is having the updated version when that update has happened on that resources. So that API profile means it's a kind of a latest API. Latest API, you need to provide the number. It's a kind of a date where the major update has happened. So you have to choose that. After that, still I don't know what is the updated version or the API profile for the storage account, PIP, and NSG. Clearly, I don't know. Okay, so this is my issue. Another thing, I need to add the parameters. Parameters means what? What inputs you want to provide while the deployment. For example, this is my virtual machine. Okay, and every time whenever I want to deploy that virtual machine, I need to change my virtual machine name, I need to change my NICAD name, I need to change my NSG name, VNet name, PIP name, storage account name. Okay, I want to change it. So I don't want to get inside my template file. I want it in outside. And then on that outside, I can just change it. So I don't want to get disturb my template once it is created. Because for the virtual machine, a simple virtual machine, you need to write a code in a 239 lines. For the 230 lines, 239 lines of code is there for the simple virtual machine. Where in the PowerShell, we are using a one line of code. Where in the Cloud Shell, we are using a one line of code. But here, it is a 239 lines of code. And more than that as well, right? So for that, if you don't want to disturb after that, then you can just keep that pointers in the parameters, whatever you want to change. You can add a variables as well. You can add variables as well. If you want to use that particular point for multiple times, you can just choose that variables. After that, here you can add functions as well. Function means what? Your maximum, minimum value, you can just add it over there. For example, for the storage account, 24 characters are allowed. So I can just say that, okay, 3 to 18 characters only. So I can just put the minimum and maximum value. But the main part is resource. You need to add that resources one by one in a sequence only, right? And then at the end, if you want to add some output, you can just add that output. Now, my main concern is I'm new to the cloud. Even I don't know what is a JSON. What are the sequence for that? And what is that? And how to write it in a JSON format, right? Is this your main concern? Yes, team?
Madhavi. Yes, Madhavi.
Right? So you don't need to worry about that because Microsoft is coming up with the all kind of templates. Microsoft is the owner of GitHub as well. And if you are going into that ARM template, ARM template quick start GitHub. If you want to get inside that, here you will get each and every detail. So let's get inside that. Okay, let me just go for this quick start templates. Okay, Azure Docs are there, right? Azure quick start stack quick start templates. Yes, this one, right? Here you will get each and every detail. Let me just put that in a chat box. See, if you want to create the availability set or this one is ACS engine or anything, if you want to create a simple NSG, VNet or anything, you can just choose that. See here, if you want to create a virtual machine, let's say if I want to create an NSG, let's create the NSG. Here, if I'm getting inside that, here I will get that Azure deploy.json file, and here we have a parameter file. So if I'm getting inside the Azure deploy.json file, then here this is a code. So I don't need to worry about that. I'm just going to copy that and then I just paste it. Now where you want to paste it. So here I want to deploy it. So here just type deploy. And here you will get the option to deploy a custom template. What is that? Deploy a custom template, right? And here, as I said, Microsoft is the owner of GitHub. So Microsoft has already integrated with the GitHub. So here you will get that quick start template. And here, see that 100 blank template. What is that 100 blank template? Here also you will get that 100 blank template. It means either you can choose it from here or either you can choose it from here. Everything is here. You can just choose that. SAP and all these things are here. See here, a simple docs. AG docs are there, or everything backup. If you want to create a tunic card with the load balancer cluster, anything, the same thing, whatever present over here, you will get it from here. Either you can go with the create your own template, or either you can go with the simple templates, which are the common templates. So let's say this is my virtual machine. Let's say if I'm choosing that resource group, inside the template, you will not having that option of the selecting subscription as well as the resource group. This is the administrative level. See here, project details. So here we need to add that in a parameter only. And then here you can just add your admin username, password, and so on, right? So if I'm getting inside my template file, so this is my template file where the schema is already given. You don't need to worry about that. Content version is already given. Metadata means what will be the metadata? Data of data. You can just provide. Parameters. So first parameter is what? Administration, admin username. I want to change that admin username. So I will put it into my parameter file. See here, type, metadata, description. Admin password I want to choose. I want to change the DNS label prefix. I need to change the public name and so on. See here, I want to change these things. And these are the allowed values, right? These are the allowed values. So this is the one, right? After that, here we have a variables. So these variables, I'm going to use it multiple times in my template. So these are the variables. Now, from here onwards, I will start to create the storage. I will start to create the resources. So first of all, what I need to do, I need to create an independent resource. So my first resource will be storage account, which is the independent resource. My second resource, which is the independent, which is the public IP address. So I will create that public IP address. And see here, this is the API version. Get it? This is the API version. So every resource is having that API version. I need to create the NSG, right? NSG. And after that, my virtual networks. So this is my virtual network, which is depends on NSG. So you need to provide that. Depends on NSG. See here, NSG. After that, your virtual network interface card. It is dependent on your public IP address as well as your virtual network, right? And finally, your virtual machine is dependent on your NIC card as well as the storage account. So like that, it is dependent on each and everything. And finally, it will create the virtual machine. One day, whenever I just learned about that, I started to create a load balancer. And what mistake I have done, I have created a virtual machines with the Apache page, with the IIS page, two virtual machines in the backend of the load balancer and each and everything. I have done that part. But as per the portal flow, I did the same thing. I created an availability set, then virtual machine, then the load balancer, like that. But here the sequence should be in a orchestrative way. You need to go with the proper sequence. So first of all, you need to create a load balancer. Then you need to create an availability set. You need to create a virtual machines and all. So this is a proper flow. So I didn't understand that flow. That's why there is no issue with my code. So if you look into that, it is having too many curly brackets, commas, and each and everything. My code was correct, but my sequence was not correct. So that's why it is not getting deployed. And then I understand it should be in an orchestrative way only. It should be in a correct sequence only. And then only it will work, right? So you don't need to worry about that. All these codes and templates are present over there. Then why we need to learn about that? So that is a question. Why we need to learn about that? Because we need to customize it. We need to customize it. So there is a code for a virtual machine, Windows virtual machine. There is a code for IIS page. There is a code for Apache. There is also one code for the load balancer with the Windows virtual machine, 2 to 3 Windows virtual machine. But what I required, I need a load balancer with one virtual machine is the Windows virtual machine, another virtual machine is the Apache virtual machine. So for that, I need to understand the sequence. And then I can take the template from the Windows. I can take the template for the Apache, and then I will put it in the backend of my load balancer. So like that.
So Madhavi, if I got it right, this ARM JSON one, it's will be only used when we need require for Apache VMs in that case, or it is optional, like we can go for CLI rather to go for ARM.
Any of that. So scripting
Got it.
languages, see here, you can go from the portal, you can create the resources. You can go from the CLI command or the PowerShell command, which are the scripting languages. Or either you can create the resources by using the ARM template. So there are multiple ways to create the resources. And everyone is having the advantage. So if I'm talking regarding with the scripting language, it is having the advantage that you have a script and then you can run it, right? But on the top of that, ARM template is the one which is having the option of the copy index. So copy index is there, parameter is there. So once you're done with that, once you create your whole template, then your parameter file will be different. Microsoft will create the another parameter file. So you don't need to get inside your main template after you create it. You can just make a changes over here only. That's it. So your main template won't get disturbed. Okay. So this is the one advantage. Another advantage is that which is a copy index. Copy index means what? So if I want to create these 10 instances, I want to create the same architecture 10 times, then I can use a copy index option. Copy index means what? You can provide the details for the naming convention. Let's say I want to create a virtual machine, 10 virtual machines, right? And then I will choose that naming convention, which is the copy index VM, or I can just say that VM hyphen copy index. So copy index means what? If you are specifying 10, it will generate like this: 0, VM0, VM1, VM2, VM3, like that, automatically.
Okay.
So you don't need to run that script again and again and again. You can add the copy index and then it will create the 10 virtual machines or whatever specified virtual machines for you. So that option is present in the ARM template. Is this clear?
Yes, Madhu.
And yes, and here it's a kind of an infrastructure as a code, means you can hold your whole infrastructure inside a one code itself. You can create it in a one code itself, and then once you're done with that, you can store it inside the portal itself. So either you can store it inside the storage account, or otherwise you can just store it inside the templates. So here we have another option, which is the templates. See here, as I already store multiple templates over here. If I'm going inside that, this is my one of the storage, which is creating the copy index. By using the copy index, it is creating the two storage accounts. So if I'm getting inside the edit option, so here I'm having that ARM template. See here. So this is my default value, which is a count of 2, and then it will choose the copy index. So, but the naming convention should be there, right? Otherwise, if you run that virtual machine multiple times, if you are saying that, okay, only VM1, I just put that naming convention as a VM1, right? And then if you are running that script 10 times, if you are choosing the copy index and each and everything, and if you are not concatenating that copy index over here in the naming convention, at the end, you will get only one virtual machine in the resource group. This is a kind of an incremental. So in the incremental mode, it will check whether this virtual machine is existed or not, and it will change it, append it over here and here and here and here. So that's why the naming convention is very important. So here also for the storage account, I chose the naming convention concatenate copy index plus storage plus some unique string, because the storage account naming convention should be unique globally. So that's why this is used. And then you can just save it. Once I save it, if I want to deploy it, I can just deploy it. Okay. So this part is done, general. And then if I want to run it, I can just deploy it from here. Anytime you can just deploy it from here, and then it will go for the deploy a custom template. Here you can specify your resource group name. Here I can just put that count is a 2 and then purchase it. That's it. Either you can review and create, or either you can just purchase it. That is no issue, right? So see here, it has initializing the deployment. So that options are present over here. But only the thing, you need to understand the ARM template. If you are working with the portal, you have to understand the JSON, because whatever it is, if I'm talking regarding with the any resources, for example, RBAC role. For the RBAC role also, the template is there in the backend, which is the action and non-action, not action, in a JSON format only, right? So if I'm talking regarding with the virtual machine or anyone, so let's take an example of the virtual machine. So as I already have one virtual machine, you can just scroll down. I just going to scroll down, and here, if you are creating that resource, then it will generate a by default template file. See here, it is generating a template file in the backend. So if you want to deploy again the same virtual machine with that all configuration, you can just download or you can just deploy it. So this is what, and here we will have the visualize template. So if it's a visualizer, means you can just get the visualization over here. What is that? It will create a virtual machine. You will get that. For any A1, you can just use that, create a DNS or the availability set. Let's say, let's select that. Let me just go with that SQL, RDS, SQL database, and then here we have that. Let me just search for the load balancer. Okay, load test is there, jump box and the load test. Okay, this one. Okay, this will give you this kind of structure. Okay, let me just go over here and simple any one of that MongoDB, Hadoop, Okay, let's take an example of the virtual machine itself. So here we have that one, deploy a custom template. Then we have that virtual machine, Windows virtual machine, and here we have that option, right? Visualize. So you can just get the visualization of that. So let me just check, see here. So this is my virtual machine, which is connected with the storage account, and that it is connected with the NIC card, right? Because that virtual machine is dependent on these resources. NIC card is dependent on public IP address and the NIC card, right? And then finally that NSG. See here, this is the graph, dependencies. So you can just get that in over here, visualization. For any template, you will get the visualization for that. Is this clear?
Yes, Madhu.
Okay, great. Just understand what is the ARM template. You don't need to write anything. Microsoft by default in the backend will create that ARM template. Okay. Just you need to understand because of the customization. If somebody asks you for the customization, I want to change this and that, then you have to do it. At least you need to understand the flow. Then you can just copy and paste that things from here and there.
Absolutely, and the best part is the two things which is out of the box from other parameters altogether. So that also helps. Right?
Yes, and also nowadays Microsoft is working on the bicep. So there is one bicep is also there, but what is that bicep? Let me just tell you that part. So in the virtual machine, if you look into that virtual machine, it is having 328 lines of code. Only to create a virtual machine, you are having the 328 lines of code, which is having a multiple commas, brackets, and each and everything, with some limitations as well, where we cannot use the loop inside that, or we cannot directly select the existing resources inside the ARM template. But bicep is coming with that solution. So by using the bicep, you can simplify your code. For example, this is a VMSS, Windows Virtual Machine. So if I'm getting inside that, so this is how many lines of code. Let me just get inside that 206, which is also having that multiple things, but it's a kind of a simplicity where it's a simple one. You can just put the description. You can just put the description here. You can just add your parameter files. So see here, this is my VM SKU and all. These are the parameter files. You can just add that variable like this, and then your resources like this. So it is reducing the commas and brackets of that, as also you can add a looping over there, multiple loops. You can just add that. Also, it will take the reference from the existing resources. You can directly use that, right? So these are the advantages are coming with the bicep, but still Microsoft is working with that. So because here you can see that in this, we have a near about all resources. For the all resources, we have a template file, right? But not for the bicep. Bicep, we need to work on that bicep, and we need to create that files, the templates for each and every resources. Then and then only we can overcome with that, right?
It's still not in a beta version as well. It's still in.
Yes. That's why. But it's a simple one. You can just get to understand about that Stack Hub and all. Okay. All right. I think that's it for now. We have done with that parts. We have done with the administer. So I think let me just go over here and AZ104 GitHub Labs. And let me tell you what we have finished till now. See here, we have done with the Active Directory subscription governance done. After that, we have done with the administer Azure resources. See here, how to create the Azure resources by using the portal, ARM template, PowerShell, and CLI. We have done with the virtual networking, inter-site connectivity, traffic manager, done with Azure storage, virtual machine, web app, containers, AKS. Only 2 pointers are remaining: data protection and implement monitoring. Also, with the help of this one, we have discussed about what is meant by SQL database,
Yes.
what is meant by Cosmos DB,
Yeah.
what is meant by event grid, event hub, service bus, and the storage account queue. Also, we have discussed about cache and CDNs, right?
Yeah.
And tomorrow only 2 pointers are remaining, which is the data protection and implementing monitoring. That's it, right?
Right.
So these 2 things we are going to cover tomorrow, okay? And then we will finish it. All right?
Sure, sure.
Okay, great. And I will give you some tips and tricks to clear that examination as well. Okay, now let me just stop.